Good afternoon and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission. It is Thursday, January 16th, 2014. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioners Derhovanesian?
Here.
Kevanian?
Here.
Lee?
Here.
Chairperson Deaver?
Here.
For the record, Commissioner Sharikian is absent. The agenda for the January 16th meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on January 10th, 2014.
Next item.
Item 2, consent items. At 2A, approval of meeting minutes from December 19th, 2013.
I will move the minutes.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Commissioners
Oh, sorry.
Derhovanesian?
Were there a question?
She should abstain. She wasn't here.
Yeah, but I read the thing and I watched the...
It's okay.
Oh, no. Yes. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, you have to abstain because you weren't present.
Yeah, even though we read
Yep.
the thing and we watch
Yep.
what it was. Okay.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Commissioners Derhovanesian?
Abstain?
Kevanian?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Chairperson Deaver?
Yes. Next item.
Item 3, introductions and presentations. Chuck White was not able to attend today's meeting. Annette Vartanian will be presenting.
Thank you. So Mr. White apologizes he couldn't be here. I will briefly go over some of the programming and the events that the Library Arts and Culture Department has scheduled for the next month. All of this information is available on the city and library websites as well as our Facebook accounts. On Thursday, February 20th at 7 p.m., we will be hosting Covered California for Visual and Performing Artists. Representatives from the nonprofit Actors Fund will explain Covered California options and requirements for artists in visual and performing arts. This is something that is sponsored by our department. And in March, on March 29th, Brand Library and Arts Center will open, and we will have community open house on Sunday, March 20th from noon to 4 p.m. On the One Book, One Glendale is the Sandcastle Girls by Chris Bojalians, and he will be at the Central Library on Thursday, February 27th at 7 p.m. at the Central Library. It's a great chance to meet him, and we encourage the community to read the book in advance of that. Our annual Children's Bookmark contest is starting January 25th, and it will go through February 8th. And children ages 14 and younger are invited to design original bookmarks illustrating this year's theme, Pause to Read, and it's PAWS. So I think it's to encourage children to think creatively and think about how pets can be involved. And the bookmarks from the selected entries are going to be used at all of the library sites. And something for the authors in our community, we will be hosting a self-publishing workshop with author Christopher Lynch. That will take place on Saturday, February 8th from 10:30 to 1:30, and this will take place at the Central Library Auditorium. And as I mentioned, more information and even more events are available on the city and library websites as well as all of our social media accounts.
Next item.
Item 4, oral communications.
And we have no cards. Next item.
Item 5, business agenda. At 5A, action items. At A1, selection of chairperson.
So every year in January, the commission, most commissions at the city of Glendale are required to undergo the process to select a chairperson to oversee and run the meetings for the commission. The next step, or the process for accepting nominations, our existing chair shall open the floor to nominations for the position of chairperson and receive nominations. Commissioner may nominate himself or herself or be nominated by another commission. And then the motion to nominate a commissioner does not require a second, and once all the nominations have been made, the chairperson will close the floor to nominations. And then the commissioners may make a statement as to why you would like to serve as the chairperson. And once the nominations and statements have been received, the selection of an officer is decided by a majority affirmative vote of the quorum. So at least 3 3 votes today to elect the chair. It's the process.
Could there be a question before that or not, a discussion? Prior to this, as we have discussed, I talked to the chair too, and I brought it to the commission as well, that I would have liked to move the time of choosing our chair to the time actually that would kind of correspond better with the election of the council people. So since the council members are being elected usually in April, and having in mind that they would need at least a month or two to make their final decision on their appointment. So maybe sometime in June would be a better time for the election rather than for the choice we should make for the chairperson than January, which is in nowhere as far as the time is considered. So that was one thing. And the other issue was that prior to this, based on what Commissioner Joylene Wagner proposed, was that in other cities, the council is by rotation, not ours, and with the Glendale Unified School District, the election of the chair is, or the choice or choosing of the chair is by rotation, which makes it more democratic and fair to all the other participants. And if someone does not want to do it, like I have always declined, you can decline and your turn would go. That was there, that was the precedent, but somehow it lost its thing in the way, and I don't know why. So I wanted that also to be brought back, if possible. Now, how it needs to be done, I'll have our chair and Mr. Grant decide on. But if that would be in place, then maybe we could extend the election or just have an election till the given time or whatever. I wanted to see how should this be taken care of.
Mr. Grant, did you have input on that?
Thank you, Chair Deaver and Commissioner Derham-Nissian. Basically, today we're really looking, for nominations, but certainly staff can bring back and put it on calendar, maybe next month or another time, these considerations for procedures, whether, the length of term and when the nominations will come up. Right now, this commission does not have any procedures or rules, and again, that could also be discussed as well, where you do come up with more procedures and rules for these meetings, and at that time, the nominations for the chair or vice chair could also be discussed as well, how you would like to proceed. And at that time, you could vote on, how you want these nominations to proceed, how long the term is, and when the annual election nomination should take place.
And
For the time being, we have to do the elect or choose our chair.
Well, you could take this one off calendar and then bring it back at another date too, if you wanted. I mean, pending, whether you wanted to go through, the, new procedures. Or you can proceed today, either one.
And that would be a motion and consensus on that. I have a question about the procedures that we might be missing and not know that we're missing, and or what things that we might want to talk about at a later time in addition to these two items. I mean, are there things about how expectations of commissioners outside of this body, or is it just procedural pieces?
Generally, it's procedurals within here, and it can be from the scheduling of the meetings, what day and what day of the month the regular meeting will take place. We've done some motions in the past, covering such things, time and day of the monthly regular meeting. But the rules and procedures can cover everything like that, including decorum.
Okay.
Could I say something? As far as the time and hours, also because we have so many restrictions, because GTV6 has to have a schedule, so it is not as much as, when or what time we should meet, but basically procedurally, to me, it's very important that, because some things have come to my attention, not in our commission, we have always had this friendly, good relationship, but it has come to my attention that sometimes, some kind of additional conversations comes up, and when there is rotation, it's as a choice, and that's why Joylene Wagner suggested, and we went with that. It would be kind of, it's not because who is popular and who's not, because all the commissioners, there's no chain of command here. They're all equal, and they have been appointed by different council members. So they would take their turn, and they would serve their duty properly and in a different kind of hats, being the chair and not the chair. But that is something that I think procedurally we need to decide we would go with it or not. I think that's a choice. Otherwise, the rest, I think, is left with staff and the GTV6 and the rest that we need to decide.
Other comments, input?
Is there any precedent with the other commissions? Have they?
Yes, they do have, not everyone, but many of them do have procedures, rules that they've adopted.
Well, in regards to when they elect a chair?
I think all of the commissions elect the chair in January.
They do.
They do? Okay.
Okay. But as far as how they choose their chair is not a kind of a one way, or there are...
Well, again, I don't know every last commission how they do it, but I think most of them follow generally the same procedure.
The procedure that was listed in the report is what, when we did a quick audit of how other commissions elected a chair last year, I called the different staff people, and the process that was, Robert's Rules of Order and city practice is what I put in, so that we would be consistent with what other commissions were doing, because we hadn't adopted our own meeting rules and practices.
Yes.
Well, order. I'm
I think
forgetting
we
what
did, but it got lost. It was here on the dais, it was discussed, and we chose that. But then somehow, because we went through a very turbulent time till we got to this point, so we picked and chose, we went we took a different direction. But I wanted to see if we want to go back. If the rest of my colleagues want to keep it this way, that would be perfectly fine. But I think it's more democratic if we don't.
So we don't want to get too far down the road on this, but certainly we can bring this back to you.
So it could be, we could agendize this
Yes.
to look at the rules and procedures for this commission at a later time. So this particular concern and any others that people might think about in the interim and want to bring forth, and we can have a full discussion and an action on that.
Correct.
Which probably, I mean, unless I would need to hear from other commissioners about wanting to table this particular nomination election process today in order to see what happens down the road, or we could go forth with the procedure today as is, and I presume if we have an agendized item and we choose to change it down the road, we could make changes even at that time.
Correct.
Correct, okay. So I'm just kind of ask my fellow commissioners if you would like to proceed with the nomination process and election today as is in the agenda, and if there's a second, perhaps I'm taking that as a request to put that on the agenda. If there's a second, to put onto the agenda to look at the procedures at another time.
I think that we need to select the chair today, simply because we're at a very integral part in our process for getting things done in terms of the RFPs and all this kind of stuff. I don't think that we can just kind of put that on the back burner. I don't think. But I do find valid all of the comments that Commissioner Terho-Manessian just made. And that is something that I would be interested in looking at as well at a later time. But I think that we just need to just do this, and if we do need to change it down the road, then we can.
So what I'm hearing, just to clarify and make sure this is correct, that so for a future agenda coming up this spring, we'll look at the rules and procedures. Are there other thoughts about holding, what I'm hearing, because I was seeing nods, that going forth with the nomination and election today? Is that?
So let me get a little clarification. So if we choose our chair now, and then down the road we go by a different procedure, so are we going to change our chair, or we are going to continue till the next election?
That would be, my understanding is that would be an option at that time as part of that agenda item. So if everybody chooses, say, to change the term time to start in August, as an example, you could have a new election in August of this year.
Okay, so can we proceed by nominating a person? Okay.
So moving forward then with I will open the floor for nominations for the chair moving forward as of this meeting, and you can nominate yourself or somebody else.
Okay. So we go by name, or do we go by?
You haven't, anybody who has a nomination may speak up, but we'll recognize
I
that
would
on the
like to
floor.
nominate Chair Deaver again for next term.
Other nominations? Really? I would accept that nomination, and I appreciate that. Can we have a roll call on that, please?
Commissioners Derhavanesian,
Yes?
Kavanian,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Chairperson Deaver.
Yes. And thank you. Next, I'm just going to move on. Next item, please.
Item 5A2, approval of utility box mural program scope of work, call for artist and theme.
Chair Deaver and members of the commission, the utility box mural program is one of two mural programs that the commission and the council approved as part of our two-year work plan. So this is the first project that I'm bringing before you for you to approve the scope of work, essentially the concept, the theme, and the call for artists and the application process, so we can proceed with this. Just to go over some of the program goals and what the concept is. Essentially, the goal of this program is to enhance the streetscape and beautify neighborhoods. A lot of communities throughout the country have similar programs, and it brings a new type of art to the community, but it also attracts community members to get involved as artists or volunteers, and it brings new artists into the community. Again, it's one of the goals of the commission to encourage local artists to participate, but also attract new artists to come to the city. The proposal for this first phase is to focus in the downtown Glendale area. There is a large concentration of utility boxes, as you can imagine, in our city's downtown. And we've identified 26 utility boxes in the area, and the recommendation is to fund up to $750 per artist per utility box for a maximum of 26. And we anticipate implementing this in early summer, or the goal is to try and implement this while school is still in session, because then the schools can participate in this process. And you had approved a budget of $30,000, although the proposal before you is less than that, and I'll tell you about the next steps, what we could do with the remaining funds. This is a map of the focus area. Staff from Community Development Department did a survey of identifying every city-owned utility box. As you can imagine, there are almost as many privately owned utility boxes, but we're just focusing on what's city property. There's 26. You can see it goes everywhere from the 134 freeway down to Colorado, all the way to Columbus and to Maryland Avenue. So I think somebody who's going to visit our downtown area is going to get to see a lot of unique art on otherwise unattractive utility boxes.
That's not true. They are attractive.
Just go over what the artist's responsibility is. Of course, artists are responsible for preparing, prepping the utility box, painting it, and finishing the artwork with a protective coating. So there, as you can see, the application is very lengthy, but it really details out what the responsibility is. I know it might look intimidating, but it is standard. I mean, people are working with city-owned property, so just want you to know a lot of other cities, Mr. Grant and I, we looked at what other communities require. So some of them ask for that information after the artist has been accepted. We just want our artists to know what they're getting into before they submit something. The artists are also responsible to incorporate volunteers into the mural process. So this can include volunteers actually painting on the utility box to, participating in another form. We've asked that the artist include that as part of his or her application process, how they anticipate incorporating volunteers. Another responsibility is we want there to be a congregation of artists painting the the utility boxes on the same day. So if the community wants to come out and walk and see this in progress, they can see it. So we're going to ask that they be available on certain days or times to prep the utility box, actually paint it, and then to cover it with a protective coating. And of course, the artist is required to comply with our city insurance and safety standards. So again, since we are working in the public right of way, we want artists to just ensure safety for themselves and volunteers. The themes, there are 4 concepts that are before you. These are just ones that we had discussed them in a variety of meetings, others that, I proposed, and in just talking to the different commissioners, what's important to you. One is, again, you want the theme to be as encompassing as possible, so not every mural looks the same, and we want to provide artistic freedom to our community and to the artists. One is a double take. Again, it's to play off of perceptions, a double meaning, and concepts with subtext, something that would require somebody to stop and actually look, or to do a double take and really think about what they're looking at. Unexpected beauty. This is, again, to search for beauty in mundane things that you may not necessarily, consider beautiful, but it gives the artist the opportunity to work with that. Another is famous American speeches animated. This would incorporate an important fabric of our history as well as the city's brand. And finally, a greener future incorporates the city's efforts for sustainability. We've been approving a lot of policies to ensure that we're a green city and that we prepare for a sustainable future. The partnership opportunities before you. Previously, when this was presented to the Commission, there was a lot of interest from staff, from community development to partner this project with the Great American Cleanup. That program is staffed by community development staff. However, it's done in conjunction with the Committee for a Clean and Beautiful Glendale. And for the communications, the committee feels that this may not be in line with their goals. So what staff proposes is that we continue on with this program. This is a Arts and Culture Commission program. The staff from Community Development Department would still like to partner on this. They have access to the volunteers. They know how to bring the volunteers together. So the recommendation is that we remain the lead on this program and identify a potential new community partner. And I'm working with the staff at Community Development, since they have a lot of contacts at the school, find out what another appropriate date is, and I'd be happy to bring that specific information to you in February. The other option, the positive actually with this option, is it allows the Commission to have maintain the program brand. So if you decided to call this, Murals Animated, for example, then regardless of where you do this program and with what partner in the city, you have ownership of that program brand, and that's the recommendation. But I definitely think it's important to partner with other departments, especially when they have access to the community. And I think the final slide is just to go through the artist selection process. Will be the committee who's reviewing these will evaluate artistic excellence, the quality of the art, and the artist originality. We want something unique. We also want creative and innovative concepts in relation to the theme, and of course we want something that takes into consideration the nature of the space and the audience that's looking at it. And there are 2 more slides. I forgot. So just the direction items before you is to provide direction on a theme. If there's a theme that you prefer or that you'd like to develop further, and then to approve the scope of work and the call for artists as presented. What the next step would be is to bring forward just the date and potential community partners for you in February. It could be a secondary approval. And the next steps is to finalize the program details. So once you approve the concept, it would be for us to identify the date, and then I would bring it back for your review. After that date, it would be brought forward to the council for their review. We would issue the call for artists. We would review the proposal, select the artists, and then take it to the councils for their review and approval. I know there's a lot of, I said review and approval a lot there, but it's not going to be as complicated. As I mentioned in the report and in my presentation, the program that has been proposed before you doesn't expend the entire $30,000 that you had budgeted. It's $20,000. So that leaves us with $10,000. So I propose that next spring we could do a second phase of a Murals on Utility Boxes program. So at that point, we can identify a new community partner in another neighborhood, for example, Montrose, Spar Heights, Adams Square, Kenneth Village, somewhere else in the city. So that's the one good thing is we're not just doing this program once. There's enough money to carry us through to a second phase.
Before we open, I just wanted to clarify, do we need to talk about, or is it sort of assumed that we need to move forward as as an independent program? Because it sounds like it's not achieving the goals of the Great American Cleanup, but I think in the report it was written slightly differently. So I just want to confirm that you don't need any clarification on that from us, or that we were looking at this as an independent program.
Yeah, and the report did discuss what the original proposal was to partner with Great American Cleanup. At the last meeting I had with the Committee for Clean and Beautiful Glendale, they didn't feel that this was part of their goal, their committee goals and their program goals. So the recommendation, and it was listed as an option in the report, but just in this meeting, the recommendation is for us to proceed, still partnering with community development, and the next steps would be to identify a date that would work, and then a potential another community partner. So we have a lot of community partners, so that is the recommendation.
Great, thank you. And we can go to questions, but I also want to make sure that we're hearing about people's interest in particular themes as one of the things that you need to know about. Commissioner Lee?
Just to clarify numbers, 26 utility boxes times 750 is 19,500. So just to make sure. This was off by 500, so I want to make sure.
We budgeted in just a little bit of extra, just in case if we have to send staff to oversee the prepping or the coding that needs to be applied over the 24-hour period. So.
No, that's fine. Just want to make sure we're clear, because I don't want somebody else to come back and bite us on the numbers.
Actually, I'm just going to tag on the numbers. Do we have, just as a reminder, do we have it budgeted in there for ongoing maintenance if it needs to be cleaned up or something?
Well, our work plan, one of the line items in our work plan was maintenance, and that's something that would be covered if, there's a utility box that is destroyed and we need to go over and paint it. The city has the graffiti cleanup, so some things would fall under that program, and then some of the things that require maintenance would come out of our maintenance budget.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Commissioner Lee, did you have other?
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
one request. The thing that you showed, the map of all the utilities, could you email it to me? I would like to know the exact locations
Yes.
for my personal interest. And then I want to commend you on the fact that it's a good idea to put aside the money for other projects next on, because we want to start with one phase and then move it to the other, so it would not cause the thing that why is it everything is happening in certain part of the town. So that's a good idea. Thank you. So email me the first. Thanks.
Email all of us.
Yes. I think it was missing from your report. I apologize.
Are there other questions with regard to the call or anything? So before we get into the themes, I actually do have a question. And one thing I wanted to put forward from Commissioner Shurikian, who did email me, and one of his questions had been about cleanup of and whether we could use other types of materials. It looks like this is restricted to painting and that we can't affix things, but he was asking that we consider new technologies, things that will ensure that ensuring basically that these stay vibrant and attractive for the long term and don't fall into disrepair. So that was something I wanted to put on the floor for him. So I have two questions. They actually relate to the releases and the moral rights waiver. And one, so with the release agreement, I want to stick with that first. I just want to clarify my understanding of that is that, or my assumption is that the city wants to be able to have the right to take pictures or do a film of it and be able to utilize that maybe in brochures down the road or on the city website and not be worried about people saying I didn't want to have my would it be out of the context possibly of this event? So somebody might see their picture and not know that it was related to the Mural program, for instance. I guess in the waiver, it doesn't say, I understand I'm getting my picture taken perhaps or used in conjunction with this event or marketing of this event. It could be just for the city in general.
Well, we could certainly, this was taken from the library's release, and they put on different programs. We certainly, in this form, we can modify it just to say in connection with, the Mural utility box program. We can narrow it to that. We've never really used it, in the sense of for every last, thing. Then they attended a class at the library, an instruction class, and then it was used for all kinds of purposes elsewhere. It was never intended to do that, but we certainly can add language to relate it to that.
I would be more comfortable with that because I know for myself I wouldn't want to feel like somebody had a blanket release to be able to use my image in conjunction with anything and maybe not even my actual name, which is I think it also said with regard to their name, or it could be a fictitious biography with it, and that made me uncomfortable to read it. So if there's a way to strike where people could be shown as somebody else or given a different biography or outside of the scope of the arts program, that would make me feel better.
Well, we can definitely connect to this program, or if you wanted a little bit broader, to the arts program.
The arts program?
Yeah.
I would be comfortable with
That's
that
fine.
if others. The other question I had, and I stayed up late last night doing some reading because I was not familiar with the artist's moral rights waiver. And if anybody's interested, there's actually a really interesting breakdown on the Los Angeles Mural Conservancy website. They've got a whole kind of layman's language for the artist to understand what arts laws are. I think I get why the city needs to do it. Where I was concerned was with not with the alteration and integrity, because I understand that these could be painted over at some point or removed, and the artist can't say you can't take away my artwork. However, I was concerned about the attribution, where I think artists should be able to say this is my work of art and feel and not have to waive that right, if I'm understanding that correctly. Yes,
again, it could be a decision, by the commission, but I think that in this case, what we've done is they will definitely have a plaque or their name on it, so they will still have their attribution to it. But it's that option of the city too, whether in all materials to attribute it to the artist.
And since we're here representing the artist community, and many of us as artists ourselves, I personally feel that any types of photos that go out into a community that might be utilized for the city to advertise this program or the city or the artist should be attributed to the artist's work. I feel pretty strongly about that, and so that's why I'm particularly uncomfortable about that piece of the waiver. I know it's more onerous on the city and about how things are distributed or how things are marked, but it also gives, if the city chooses, for instance, to change the mural and we're going to paint half of it out because we needed to, the artist then would have the right, if they didn't waive it, to be able to say, I no longer am associated with this artwork, it no longer reflects my intent.
Just so I'm clear, so if, for example, if GTV6 takes footage of this program and chooses to incorporate it, and there's a new, show on GTV6 where they cover things around the community. If they wanted to cover this program and they show a specific utility box, your request is that during that promotion of that specific utility box, we identify the artist. Is that what, or if it's on the website? I just want to make sure that
I think that's a legal question.
We would have to look into this, because I could see situations where if it was inadvertent and that the city forgot to do it, then we could incur liability. The artist said, you forgot to, it was certainly inadvertent. It was done by mistake. It was not done on purpose or willfully, but then they they want to take us to court simply because we forgot.
And I understand. That's why I understand the onerousness of it if you're doing something as you describe. But what I'm wondering in that case, if, say, we couldn't get around and most cities utilize this waiver and an artist can choose whether to go with it or not, but that if we do that, then we explain or in part of the contract are saying that when, as reasonable, we will give credit to the artist unless the artist in writing no longer wants to be they're attributed to that work. So that means we were using our best efforts to have a photo credit to make sure that the name remains intact on the work itself. If GTV6 does something, maybe they have at the end, these are the artists that participated in this program, if it was specific reel to this program. So, I'm assuming that there must be some workaround in there where we can let the artists know that we're not going to just write them off, but that we also feel reasonably well protected.
We certainly can look into it and bring it back to you.
Thank you.
I do believe that in legal terms, usually that could be worked very well because it says, they give that credit to the artist, but city also in case, something to cover that in case by mistake the name was forgotten, there's always a small print somewhere that the legal system can very well handle that, I believe. Correct?
We can definitely look into it.
Because I've seen that everywhere, especially when it comes giving credit to the artist. Yet there are some legalities or there are times that by mistake, so nobody wants to be sued, especially when there is good intention and by mistake something has happened. So I'm sure there are good ways of covering that. But
And we don't mean to make your job harder. I would feel...
And it's important because in some programs, and you look at other cities, sometimes, things were done before the digital age and some artwork can't be credited because some people don't know who the artist was for a specific artwork. So I understand, but I'll work with Mr. Grant on those two items is so that change the release so that we can use it, the photographs and the artists for arts programming. I think if it's broader, it would, I think it'll be easier for us. And then to try and reasonably identify the artist or where we can and when it's appropriate. So we'll make those changes as appropriate, and then we'll...
And then bring that back for us.
Yeah.
okay.
Are there other comments, or can we move into people's preferences for themes? Are there preferences for themes?
It's very difficult to do that.
I think that was kind of the point.
You were what?
I think that was kind of the point. We got suckered in with light agenda, and then we got thematic material. No pressure.
That's right. Well,
I will give my opinion if that helps get the ball rolling at all. I have two preferences. One was the double take, and one is a greener future. I like the idea that we'll be utilized, or hopefully moving this into the program into next spring, and maybe one would be for downtown, and the other, and a second in line would be the next theme if it was appropriate for that particular neighborhood. But the reason, I'll just give my reasonings on that. One, in the greener future, I think we've got a lot of partners and community members that are really concerned about recycling and automotive pollutions and everything, and particularly in the downtown when you've got visitors coming in, it really would put forth the city as taking a step toward concern about sustainable and renewable energies and keeping our city clean, and I think it's a nice message for a downtown. With the double take, I think it gives you an opportunity to really have a statement out there, so if the artists can really have a lot of fun with that, and some people who are visiting or media, there might get more coverage, and artists might be more excited about it, and they would give us a real format to put that forward on. So those are the reasons, those are my two favorites of these.
could I go next? I would go with the same choices because unexpected beauty, to me, there is ultimate, whatever, there's infinity in beauty, and it's hard to say unexpected beauty. And famous American speeches also kind of to depict them, as it says, it's not as common as the fourth one, which is a greener future. First of all, it shows we are innovative, we are part of the whole thing. It's an idea that I suppose every community should be aware of and is aware of. So the double take and the greener future, to me, is also the best themes possible.
Other comments, preferences, Commissioner Lee?
Oh, is there a problem to accept all four?
What?
To do both?
And there's no preference.
No preference. They're okay with all four.
Yeah, I'm okay with all four.
It would be helpful if we can narrow it down to two, and then from the two, we can decide which one is appropriate for downtown Glendale. Or if you give some flexibility to staff, I can look into, which could work in the downtown. We'll have to do some outreach to the Downtown Glendale Association and then find that appropriate partner, and I can bring that forward in February. But or if you'd like to select one, that's fine too. But I think two, and then we can select one would be very helpful. We can't do the bundling package with this one.
So, my two choices are going to be Double Take and Unexpected Beauty, simply because we have to, my perspective is kind of to keep this artistic. I think the greener future is nice, but it's like, it's kind of like advertisement. If a city is going to be greener, whether there's art depicting that in downtown or not, I think it's going to be anyway. So I think we need to take the opportunity and do something different, be out there. We need to make, if we're going to make the downtown into an artistic area, we need to think outside the box. And I think the green future thing is kind of like every city can do that. But let's do mundane, let's do strange, let's do out there stuff. We have the opportunity, and I think that we have to take that opportunity and just grab it and go with it. I think the other two are like safe bets. The speech is animated, and greener future is kind of, it's a little safe. And I think that for myself personally, I'm going to be kind of out there with my choices when I'm given them like this. And so Double Take and Unexpected Beauty.
Could I say something? Well, in my mind, of course, it doesn't matter which one we are going to choose. Nonetheless, still the aesthetic value of what is going to be there is going to be our number one issue regardless, because that's basically, it should be visually appealing. So, and it should be different and it should be interesting. So that is there regardless of what we do, but there is a theme behind it. So that's why that is taken for granted, the Unexpected Beauty to me. Then it comes between the other two that is kind of are going to express it in those terms.
I want to put something into perspective. I don't think that murals on utility boxes is going to make the city's image. That's not what people are going to judge us. Hopefully not. So that's the only reason why I'm saying with this one, let's have a little bit of fun. Let's do it outside the box, because we're going to have a signature event, hopefully, and we're going to do all these bigger things that is what's going to, it's going to give us the branding, not a greener future on a utility box. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of, I don't know.
I've been appropriately swayed if we want to, in terms of putting that at the top, even though I tend towards social agendas. But yes.
Yeah. See, and as much as art is, is a tool for, social agendas, it always has. It's always been something that is reflective upon,
Correct.
psychological, social change. That art is a reflection of that. But at the same time, it's like, I think that society is going in a different way. I don't think it's a societal. I think it's more of a societal choice to go green. But I think society as a whole is going into the direction of the Double Take and Unexpected Beauty. People are looking for strange, different. Those aren't words to be afraid of anymore. We're not, living in the 50s with, cookie cutter houses and white fences anymore. So I think that if we want to make a social statement, I think that's the one we should do.
I will comment on that because I think it brings up a good point. I think if there is any criticisms of Glendale, which there are very few, if any, is that we are perhaps a little laced up. So I will. You have persuaded me in that direction. Yes, I would make that as the top priority as well.
I don't think Commissioner Terhoven is at all. Not that was my goal. That was not my intent.
No, it's not being asked. The idea is that no matter what is going to be chosen, it has to have that unexpected. It is there. To me, that is not even a choice. When they are bringing 3, let's say, or 4 or whatever here to the Commission for us to decide, automatically, whatever expresses the theme, there's a theme, as you said. Art always reveals and expresses what is the needs of the time. So I'll go naturally with the one that has that more aesthetic value to it. That's why, to me, again, it does, but it's what are we depicting, what are we trying to talk about, kind of. And especially, we have different locations, since we have for the downtown and other areas. So kind of, I thought we could use our flair in a different manner, but being green is a major issue. So that's why I was very keen about that. But nonetheless, I'm okay with whichever direction.
Can I make one final comment? And this is not to persuade anyone. I'm done with that, or at least even if people thought that I was. The difference is that when people look at a mural project, what the problem is that they're expecting beauty.
Yes.
And if we give them something that's unexpected, then that's the whole interesting part, is that it's just supposed to be unexpected, as opposed to what you described, which was completely expected, which I have myself personally as an artist very little interest in, because I mean you can go and listen to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony 8,000 times and it's expected beauty every single time, but let's do something. I mean I'm not trying to push for it. I'm just giving you a complete summation of my artistic vision with this particular project.
I think as varied as the Commission's opinion is on these themes, I think we're going to get that many more proposals from artists. So it's going to be very, very tough to select what's the most unexpected of the unexpected beauty, if that's the theme that you choose to go with. But Commissioner Lee, do you have a top two?
Well, the greener future, what I'm envisioning right now, for example, since it's going to be on brand, greener future, we're already doing bag recycling and the bicycle. I can imagine seeing a lot of bicycle related artwork on the utility boxes, and how I see it is I'll be walking by and a patron walks by and sees, hey, there's people biking or doing something with bikes. Hey, why don't we bike to work, or things like that you can help promote, and that's what I envision that way. Whereas I think the way you guys are saying is just you see it, yes, it's unexpected, it looks great, yes, but then this might be able to move it a step further to get a reaction. That's only my only thought.
Do you have a second preference or second choice for the theme?
Double take is, I think that's a sure win.
Okay.
So it seems like it was between double take, greener future, and unexpected beauty was the one that was thrown in there. We've got three people, I think, who seem comfortable with double take being at the top. It doesn't preclude beauty. It doesn't preclude somebody having a theme that is with regard to greener technologies and such as part of their double take. I mean, as you say, the artists are going to come up with things that we couldn't begin to imagine.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the goal, is to get murals and proposals that are varied, and double take was actually selected by all four of you, so there's no objection. That could be the theme for downtown Glendale for this first phase, and then staff can just reach out to staff from community development, and we can identify a partner, just an outreach partner that might work with us, and then for the next month we can bring back the specific details. And then I think unexpected beauty and a greener future are definitely appropriate, and some other neighborhoods in the community, and I think that could be considered for the second phase.
Actually, I do. For me, for example, in the utility boxes that we identified, actually double take would not be my first choice. Unexpected beauty would be my first choice.
And you are in that committee, correct?
No, Commissioners Lee and Sharikian are assigned to that review of that.
So you swayed me and then you stepped back and left me out there.
No. What I said was expected beauty for me is definitely the front runner in this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Simply because, I mean, imagine most of those boxes are on brand. Well, what do you expect on brand? A bunch of businesses, a bunch of really nice buildings that are kind of, I mean, there's nothing that's really eye-catching. There's nothing that's an eyesore, of course. They're all pretty much cookie cutter kind of looking things, whatever is in the common marketplace. Well, then why don't we give them something unexpected? It's like we keep feeding people what is socially accepted and what's okay and what's, Stephen, I love your idea of bicycles, but for me, bicycles just kind of, you want to talk about mundane bicycles for me. I'm not a huge fan of bicycles. Of course, I know how to ride one, but still. But it's something that, fine, let's give them bicycles, but let's make it something different. Let's do something with that.
Would you like to incorporate something that we're looking for? Proposals that, not going to say out of the box, but we're open to create a proposal. I think anytime you allow an application process, we're just giving artists a theme to work with. So you will get proposals that speak to that unexpected beauty, because somebody might have a painting of a mural of a shoe but they make it look very beautiful if it's an old ratty shoe, but it requires you to do a double take and might have an underlying meaning of sustainability because they're recycled shoes, for example. But
right.
I think that's what we're encouraging is, we're asking for artists to give us their best, very best, and, something that's never been seen before. And I think in our community, the fact that right now our downtown area doesn't have public art options, we don't have any murals, the fact that people are going to be able to walk down Brand Boulevard or Maryland or any of those streets and be able to see a pop of color and this vibrancy is just going to be beyond words, I think, for all of us.
I'll add another layer on top of that. The way I see it is that the utility box mural program, the overlying idea should be unexpected beauty. And then the rest of them, they can all be underneath that. Those can all be secondary ideas, sub-ideas, sub-categories.
Commissioner Kevanian, that's basically what I was saying. No matter what you do, when you put something there for visuals, and it is something that is a special major project, involves community and the city, which is the most important organization, naturally the expectation is that it is unexpected beauty. To me, it doesn't matter which theme you choose, it has to be. You pick and choose. Human nature, even a child, when they look at something, they go for the unexpected beauty. When we pick between 2 or 3 items there, that is there. It's human nature. Even dogs and cats, I suppose, find what is kind of there, which is catchy, which is specific. But what is the theme, as it said? Now we could discuss, as you said, then it all has to be unexpected beauty, but the theme could be any one of the others. I understand that. I do 100% understand you.
I'll give you a little bit of an idea of what I'm talking about. So, watch this. If our thematic material was, let's say, greener future, right, and unexpected beauty, if you took a lizard and you painted it on the mural box, on the utility box, and it's really bright green, that's greener future and unexpected beauty. See my point? It's the duality of the situation that is more important for me than simply portraying an idea. That for me is like,
A recommendation. Okay, so what I had listed is that, for double take, this theme could play off of perceptions, double meanings, and concepts with subtext. How about if I incorporate something about unexpected beauty within the double take theme concept, and if we included some language that plays off of unexpected beauty, would that address your concern and your interest in that topic?
I'm happy either way. I've never been one to, because I'm not as happy as I can be, to stop a vote or to, bicker about it. And I don't want to make that this situation either. But I think all I'm saying is that there's a bigger, larger scale artistic decision that I'm more concerned about than really what the thematic material is on the sub level.
Let me ask this then. Are there a number, I imagine there are cities that don't offer a theme, that they just say that we've got these boxes and we are looking for things that are innovative, that are going to get people thinking, that are beautiful in some way, whatever that means to you. And so there maybe what we should be looking at is what is the name, if we're going to be doing this independently too, what is the name of our program? What is the name, what do we want this overall name to be for this program? And beyond that, it's really leaving it up to the artists to make their proposals. But these are the types of things that we are interested in getting them thinking about.
Somehow I feel very comfortable with what you're suggesting, if it's done in other cities as well, because no matter what the theme is, it has to be appealing and it has to be unexpected. Now, if you want to leave it open, so some boxes would have the green future, some would have unexpected, some would have double, whatever, so that would cover the idea, and I think everybody on this dais would be happy about it too, because we all initially agree with the fact that it has to be unexpected beauty there. But what the theme is beyond that, what does that beauty reveal and express is what is our concern. If we can leave it open, then I think we are giving more choice to the artists, and it would make it kind of a little bit more difficult for the committee to choose, but it is kind of more open-ended and inclusive.
Just to answer a couple of questions, you can come up with a name if you decide that this program is going to be called Unexpected Beauty. You know, the Unexpected Beauty is the city's utility box mural program, and that regardless of where we do this, that's always going to be the program. So when somebody Googles it, they come across and they know that that's the program name. Most communities, most of them have a theme or a concept. So when it's in a specific neighborhood, there is something aesthetically connecting all of the murals. For example, some beach communities, they don't say this is the theme, but they say that all of the artwork has to relate to the beach or the ocean, so that at least there's some connection. Other communities, they pick, for example, community pride, or some have used sustainability as a theme or a concept. So again, it's your decision if you want to try and give some parameters so that all of the murals, there's something connecting them, whether it's a theme, a concept, or a specific word. And then if you also want to talk about what you want to name this program, we can discuss that too. But
we're not really getting anywhere, are we?
Just remember that whoever's on the committee, it's going to make it that much harder for them to pick, select the artists, because if things are too general, then you're going to have a wide spectrum to pick from, and it'll make the decision really hard.
And that's why I didn't suggest that. I mean, if you want to really do it that way, just make an open call. We have a utility art box project, and here you go. If we do that, you're going to get millions and millions and millions of people applying. So we don't want to do that either. That's why I wouldn't suggest that at all.
So I'm losing track a little bit. So what are everybody's number one? You have it. Please, that would be great.
Okay, Charity Weaver, Unexpected Beauty, Double Take.
Actually, mine was Double Taking Greener Future.
But then you changed to Unexpected Beauty.
I was taking a mental break.
Okay.
Sorry. I apologize.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So Greener Future and Double Take. Commissioner Derhovan-Nessian, Double Take Greener Future. Commissioner Kevanian, Double Take Unexpected Beauty. And Commissioner Lee, Double Take and Greener Future. So Double Take is on everyone's list, and if we want to go by a majority, then I would recommend we can stick to that theme or overriding theme for downtown. I think everyone feels strongly about the two other concepts, so it's definitely something we can think about for other neighborhoods. And although I've said we can do one phase, depending on how many utility boxes there are in other communities, we can have 1 to 2, but I think for this one, we should focus on phase 1 and make sure it's a success. So recommendation is to go with a Double Take, and if you want to come up with a program name for this specific project, we can do that. Yes.
Could we add on something that the committee, when they decide, they would know that they're doing, the theme is Double Take, but it is the unexpected beauty is expected?
We can, if that is expected, we can,
Because that is what art is. And it could be unexpected beauty, it should be ugly beautiful, unexpected, something that catches your eye.
I'm gonna
There's
have that
something
in mind,
special.
don't worry.
So if that is the situation, because that's why I was surprised that even that is mentioned, because that should be part of it. So could we add on so people would know that it's not just a double take, it has to have that beauty in it, that unexpected beauty in it.
what we can do is when we're talking about the mural program, I think what in previous mural reports, I think we talked about just the unexpected beauty in these programs, so that when somebody comes across a mural in an area, they're not necessarily expecting it, and they come across it. So I can try and weave that into the just the program description that that's obviously in everything that we do. If it's something that the commission would like me to incorporate.
As an artist, I would beg you for that, because that is expected to be there, and I don't want any misconception for any committee or any member or anybody who is getting involved in any of that thing that would disregard that as number one issue of what they choose. But how that is revealed and expressed is another issue.
So what I'm hearing is that we did all have, the one thing that we all had was the double take. So if you're going to go on a democratic kind of down the road, that is where it lands. Is there anybody opposed to having that as the theme for downtown? Are you sure?
He's smiling.
I'm pretty sure. Again, I'm not going to stand in front of that, so.
Well, can we have a motion that addresses the theme recommendation and with the modifications that were brought forth for the call for artists?
And the general scope of work, what next month I will bring forward is a date for you, and I think this step is for you to approve the general scope so that we have something to work off of, so then when we go, try and select the date, we have what the commission wants in mind. So next month I will bring forward the date and any potential new community partners, and then with the motion that you approve so that we can issue the call for artists. Just want to be clear as to what you expect next month.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
And I second it.
And are we clear for the record what that motion was? Could somebody express that motion?
The theme is a double take, and the changes as brought forward by Chair Deaver about the release, allowing the city to be able to use the images or reference to the artist or to the artwork for promotion of arts programming, and reword the one section so that the city will reasonably try to identify the artists in the promotions that we do use the image of their artwork, and the request to add unexpected beauty and to encourage out-of-the-box proposals, excuse the pun, into the program description. I covered everything.
And that motion was seconded?
Yes, I second.
Thank you. Next item. Oh, roll call. My gosh. Okay, yes, roll call, please.
Commissioners Hovhanessian,
Yes.
Kivanian,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Chairperson Deaver.
Yes. Next item.
Item 6, Commission Staff Comments.
I just want to give a quick update. Last month, we issued the 3 requests for qualifications and call for artists. These are the RFPs for the event management firm, temporary exhibitions and public spaces, as well as temporary exhibitions and vacant storefronts, as well as the call for artists for performing arts. So all 4 of those are open, and we're accepting proposals until January 31st. They've been promoted on the city's website, the library website, through our listservs, through county listservs, our social media, and through our email lists. So we're accepting those proposals until the 31st, and there has been interest. We're getting calls, and people are excited to know that we are doing public art programming in our community.
Thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. And then also a happy Chinese New Year, because our next meeting will fall in February. Chinese New Year this year will be on January 31st, and this year is the Year of the Horse. And then also the LA Art Show is happening right now at the LA Convention Center. It's from January 15th through the 19th at the Convention Center, South Hall J and K. So if anybody has time to go see art.
I would like to commend our staff for working with Glendale Unified School District for the art exhibitions in the little kind of a thing that we have at the Adams Square. It's wonderful, and I saw the painting work. It was very interesting. And number two, I would like to give my prayers to people of citizens of Glendora who are suffering this whole day in a very severe and bad fire situation in their community. So I hope they can control the situation as fast as possible, because there has been a lot of damages.
Commissioner Kavanian?
Thank you. I had a question for staff. In terms of number, is there an approximate number you can give us in terms of how many responses we've gotten on, actual submissions?
We have approximately 5 for the performing arts. We don't have any proposals submitted for the other 3, but I anticipate on January 31st we're going to get probably 95% of anybody who's interested in submitting a proposal. But we are getting calls, people just wanting to, they have some questions and just want some background information.
Great. Thank you. And also I'd like to mention that the Glendale's Lark Musical Society has a performance on January 26th at 2 p.m. It's a Sunday at Schoenberg Hall. It's part of a joint concert that they do with the choir at UCLA. And of course, Schoenberg Hall is on the campus of UCLA. I'll be singing in that choir.
He's going to sing there, by the way.
Yeah, not solo, of course. I'm not that good. But the piece that we're singing is by Tigran Mansourian, who actually just celebrated his 75th birthday. And they did that with the Dilijan concert series that is also put on by Lark at the Zipper Hall, which was actually, they had 2 articles in the LA Times, and actually it was a Critics' Choice event. So very happy to hear that, because those guys are amazing players, and Tigran Mansourian is a very, very, very wonderful guy and a wonderful composer. And we're going to be performing one of his works for a cappella choir called Ars Poetica. And it's based on the poetry of Charens, who was an Armenian poet who lived during the time of the genocide. So you see how he changes. It's 4 sets. It's 4 different movements essentially, and you see how the first set is early poetry, and then you see how it develops into something else. With the last poem set is about actually what would happen. He kind of imagines how death would be, what happens when someone dies, and how the word travels throughout town and into people's houses. And it's very interesting, the philosophical thought that he actually puts into that, and how that translates over to the music. And Mansourian is just a master at setting these things. So if you can't come out, if you want, I will give you the, not that you have a choice, but I will give you the phone number for Lark Musical Society. That's 818-500-9997 if you want any further information, or you can go to UCLA's website and go and find out the calendar for Schoenberg Hall.
On the note that you mentioned of Mansourian's, how the word of mouth as far as when somebody dies happens, I need to pay my condolences to the Aramik Gharabegian's family, who was a well-known international conductor who passed away this last week from heart attack. It's a great loss for our community, and it's interesting when you mentioned that, all of a sudden it brought back all that memory and ideas. So may God be with you, and may you get comfort, because the whole community is crying and mourning over this loss. Thank you.
I just wanted to add to the LA Art Show that on Sunday at 2 o'clock, January 19th, there is a panel discussion with regard to the City of Los Angeles's recent passage of the Mural Ordinance that was in the news quite a bit. So there's a number, including council members and people from the Los Angeles Mural Conservancy and others that are there to talk about what that process was like and why the city chose to have the mural program. And since we're so invested in this right now, it might be a worthwhile panel for people to participate in if you happen to be there on Sunday. There's also Photo LA at LA Mart is also happening this weekend in downtown as well. And I believe Arts from the Ashes, one of our local groups here, is participating in some capacity in that as well. And the installation at the Adams Hill gas station with Daly High School's having a reception right now, which I believe that goes on for another 45 minutes. So hopefully people can make it over after this meeting, or if you're out in the public, stop by and congratulate the students on their work in there. It's a great installation. And then finally, I just want to, since I didn't say it before, I just want to thank my fellow commissioners for your support in re-electing me to this position. It was certainly a big learning experience last year, and based on a bit today, I'm clearly still learning. So thank you for your support in that and for working as a team as we do. Any other comments? No. And with that, written communications. Next item, please.
Item 7, written communications.
And we have none. So we are adjourned.